You know, the situation in the Middle East has reached what I think is a critical flashpoint over the last 4 days. I haven't made a video in like 5 days, took a break, took the family out to Disney World, enjoyed myself, and then I was snapped back into reality at the very last moment of my trip, and I'll talk about that here in a second. But when it comes to things, when it comes to your prep, I think that what happened over the last few days just solidifies how difficult it will be to really just have everything that you want for your prep at any given moment. And I'm going to summarize what has gone on since May 2nd through May 5th. And I'm recording this at about noon on May 5th. Let's see what else pops off for the rest of the day. The May 2nd through the 3rd, the shadow war seems to intensify. We've been in a ceasefire with Iran for over 2 weeks now, right? And it feels like it's just been like this shadowy war where the IRGC, they really feel like they don't want to listen to the president. They don't want to listen to the Ayatollah. They kind of want to do whatever the F they want to. Let me grind these coffee beans. One moment. So during this ceasefire, it feels like Iran has violated it multiple times, firing at commercial vessels and seeming at firing at U.S. forces, even if they're missing. And they would say that we're violating it by having a naval blockade. That's going to be up to folks to argue and figure out on their own. But I would say my biggest point for all of it is I'm not really sure if the response that we had literally just last night is going to be the way to go. You got to remember, mid-February, the Strait of Hormuz was wide open. It was open for business. Folks were doing what they needed to do. And we didn't necessarily have to worry about vessels not being able to get through that bad boy. Now we just announced this thing called Operation or Project Freedom, which is us. So at first the president said we're going to be escorting commercial vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. It seems like CENTCOM pushed back on that just slightly when they said that they're going to be guiding commercial vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. And then even just this morning, the Secretary of War came back and said that they created like an umbrella of freedom and basically through the sea and I guess maybe through land, commercial vessels are going to be able to get through the Strait of Hormuz. But very soon we're going to be releasing the strait back to the folks who need it more than we do. It's just a lot going on. And as I said before, the Strait of Hormuz was 100% open for business before any of this shit popped off. And now we got this headache of giving, gimmicky names to projects that necessarily didn't need to exist beforehand because it was wide open for business. And it feels like we lost the forest for the trees, because the whole reason that we even went out and started this campaign against Iran was to keep them from getting a nuclear weapon along with other objectives. And now it seems to be the main objective is reopening a strait that was already fully open for business. So we have that on the agenda. The escalation took place very, very quickly. May 4th, may the 4th be with you. Well, it seems like Iran really wanted the 4th to be with them, because it just feels like they really started to pop off in the area and to do a lot of stuff that would just make this ceasefire, it feels like it's going to go full kinetic activity. So first, the U.S. Navy began guiding merchant ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran retaliated with a barrage of drones, missiles, and a swarm of boat attacks against U.S. forces engaged, and sank several Iranian fast attack craft and to protect U.S. flagged vessels. We also have them launching an attack against the UAE and the United Arab Emirates. And it just seems to be there's a blockade on the blockade, but now there seems to be kinetic activity in the area altogether. And this bilateral fight has turned into this big old regional crisis for UAE and also South Korea, because one of their commercial vessels was struck and seems to be, it's on fire. I don't know if it's still sellable, if it's able to still traverse the sea or whatever. But imagine this. Imagine you're a commercial vessel. You were stuck in the Persian Gulf. You've been in the Persian Gulf for a good minute. Just look at the creaminess on, you might not be able to see it that good, but this thing is looking fantastic. You've been in the Persian Gulf for 60 days. You've been figuring out different ways to feed your crew. You yourself are not a like a traditional sailor in the sense of being able to have kinetic activity or protect yourselves. And now you're being told, look at us, we're naval destroyers, two of ours. We're the United States Navy. We just made it through the Strait of Hormuz. You can too. Just follow this guide path. No, we're not gonna sail with you. We're just going to tell you which way to go. Matter of fact, stick near the Omani coast, okay? And if you get into a pinch, call the Omanis and they will help you out. Now, are you still going to maintain insurance? I don't know. Are you still going to maintain sailors who want to go through that? You're the captain, but are you going to be able to convince 600, up to 1,000, 60? So how many sailors you got on there to go through it as well? You got families, you got, some people are carrying empty cargo. Some people are carrying helium, fertilizer, oil, and or even like cruise lines. So it's just like, is the cargo that we're holding worth it to traverse through the Strait of Hormuz and risk being attacked? Because the United States is telling us that they're going to guide us through and that they have this umbrella of protection and that everything's going to be a-okay. Oman was also targeted in this attack. So if you're staying close to Oman, look at that. Oman is targeted, UAE is targeted. So the defense secretary said this morning that the ceasefire is not over, although Iran attacked our vessels. The U.S. Navy has already said that we sank several fast boats, whether they were IRGC or just affiliated with them, but we sank those back. But it's not over. It just feels like this is actively becoming a situation that you just need to plan for the long term. And this is where I say I was snapped back into reality with my Disney trip. So at the end of the Disney trip, of course, we rented a vehicle. There's 7 of us. And we go to fill up the fuel. Now, gas in Florida is higher than it is in Texas, but it just felt weird because over 5 days or 6 days, however long I was there, we used 12 gallons of gas, and to fill up the 12 gallons of gas cost me nearly $60. Freaking ridiculous. Just since all this connect activity happened, the average price of gas in America went up 3 cents overnight. It's now around $4.48 on average. And Brent crude, which is the futures for crude oil that comes out of that region, shot up to between $115 and $119 a barrel. West Texas crude is up high as well, traversing over $100, sometimes in the high 90s. At the end of the day, gas is up 50% since the start of the war. And that's the biggest thing when it comes to your prep that you may be relying on. I don't necessarily rely on gas that much for my prep. I'm big on to solar and stuff like that. But if you are relying on gas generators, gasoline for your bug out situations or anything like that, you need to take in heavy consideration how this is going to increase, because you can't keep fuel stabilized forever. You shouldn't try to keep it stabilized forever. And it may not be easily available at a price that you're used to. I highly recommend the use of solar, but just if you're going to be buying stuff that comes from the region that you need, tires, helium, petroleum, rubbers, just plan on increased costs. I don't know when this shit's gonna calm down. If you are the person that's already in the middle of buying seeds because you want to do some planting, there's a higher chance the fertilizer may cost you more. Topsoil could cost more. A lot of that stuff is made here in the States, but a lot of that shit comes from that region. So your soil amendments and things that you're going to do, you might want to take a different look at that as well. So UAE already announced that they're leaving OPEC, and that recently caused chaos with Saudi Arabia, not kinetic, but just like they're leaving. I don't know what they were trying to signal. Maybe they're trying to signal to Iran like, hey, look, we're leaving, don't attack us. But it still was attacked. So as a prepper, ensure your fuel rotation, stabilize both gas and diesel, is in maximum capacity. Whatever you can keep in maximum capacity stabilized, I would recommend you do that. I have a buddy that has 100 acres. He needs fuel for his tractors. He's just switched to an electric buggy, so he's good on that with solar, but he still needs fuel for his dually truck. He needs fuel for his F-150. He needs fuel for all sorts of crap, as well as the stuff that he keeps on site, especially for one of his tanks that he has some power generators type of crap hooked up for his bass and for some of his catfish tanks. And he has an increased cost where he's thinking about letting one of the tanks just have at it on its own. He doesn't have the ability to keep it up like he would like to. This is a ceasefire in name only, y'all. Are we winning? I think the only way we quote unquote win this is to take the L and leave. This is not going to be solved in a military manner, in my opinion. If you think that it will be, please explain how. Please explain how us going at it alone or with Israel only is going to kinetically solve reopening the Strait of Hormuz, for which we don't use it the most. Other countries do, and they're not in this fight. Imagine being a country that needs stuff from the Strait of Hormuz. South Korea, China, Japan, Malaysia, all of you have navies. Maybe not the capacity we do, with the notwithstanding China. None of you are participating in reopening this shit because y'all are just like, look, we're going to use our reserves. We're going to mind our effing business. And it just shows you that a military strategy, I don't think, is going to be the way to go. They are probably going to continue with their version of a blockade. They are probably going to continue with their direct strikes on infrastructure. And the energy market is going to be in for a volatile summer. I'm calling it now. Anything that you have to do for your prep, you might want to start doing that as soon as you can. What I'm going to be doing as soon as I can is knocking out the rest of his espresso and getting back to just, I guess, life. I mean, it slapped me back in the face that this shit is still expensive and I still got to make things happen. But your next trip to the store, tell me how much that shit cost you. First time stopping by, hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you part of the battalion. If this is not your first time stopping by, well, thank you once again for watching me run my grape. For everyone else, we'll speak soon.